All right, good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm Sarah Veselo, your adult programming librarian at Park Ridge Public Library. Me waving, that's me. Please do join us. Thank you for coming tonight, but come again for upcoming virtual programs. We're still doing virtual for the time being. Next one is next Thursday night, January 20th, Rediscover You. Christine Kachowski will help us refocus, reset, regroup for the new year. We have Sandy Weisenberg, a Northwestern University professor, help us consider how to start a memoir, January 26th. And then we've got Erica Reckamp of Job Search Like a Pro coming back February 17th to help us with networking and outreach. All some good goals for the new year, I think. But what you came here for tonight, FireLogic Technology Services, a longtime library partner, and the smarts behind Drop-In Help Desk, which we didn't have this month, but will return February 5th. Come visit. Join us this evening for a timely discussion of cybersecurity and safety. Thanks for joining us, Derrick and Mike.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate it. Do we have the floor at this point?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. All right, let me go ahead and let me do a screen share as we'll move it over. We've got some slides prepared for our lecture here today, and we'll kick it off right after I get this up on the screen here. So forgive me, I've never taught. I'm an IT person. I've never taught a pure virtual only lecture before. So this is definitely a new experience for me on my side. So give me a second here. Let me go ahead and do a share here on the screen. And let's see. Okay, I think we've got it. Nope, that's not what we wanted to see here. That's not what we wanted. All right. Hey, Sarah, can you pop on really quick and just make sure that you're seeing?
Yep, I see you're there. Perfect. Now we just see the PowerPoint.
Perfect. All right, just needed some validation there from you. Appreciate that. Yes, I really appreciate everyone coming out virtually. We were expected to do this class in person this evening, but circumstances as they are and the environment as it is, we really had to transition into a virtual only concept here. And it's really interesting. It's kind of funny. I was thinking to myself just before class had begun here that boy, I've been teaching classes with the local libraries now for better part of the last decade. And I was offering virtual secondary options for attendees back in already 2012, 2013, 2014. And back then we were using the Microsoft Link platform, which was the corporate version of Skype, which then turned to Skype for Business, and that was Microsoft Teams. A lot of people probably have heard that thrown around in modern lingo, and it was just very funny. You know, we would have one, maybe two people join in over our Microsoft Link virtual attendee option, and I thought to myself, gosh, this never is going to become a thing. And you know, look at us here today, 2022, and this is what we're forced to be doing. So I guess the tides have turned, and it's just we've come full circle. So something I never thought would be prime time is now exactly how we're doing some of our teaching. So, which is perfectly fine. We're fully prepared for it. We are an IT firm, and I think we can make the best of it, even though I usually do prefer having folks live in the crowd. I like the energy. I like interacting with everyone that's in attendance. But again, it is what it is, and we're going to make the best of it. So let me take this off the screen here. Let's see if I can hide this. All right. Well, we're going to leave it. We're going to leave this as. Give me just 1 second, everyone. I just want to see if I can get this off the screen because I'm sure all of you are also seeing.
Are you trying to get your PowerPoint to go?
The PowerPoint's still live, right, Sarah?
It is, yes.
Yeah, but you see the menu bar at the top of the screen. Is that, do you?
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't? Okay. I did not know that it was hidden for everyone else. So, all right, that's fine. Perfect. Yes, formal introduction. My name is Derrick Wlodarz. I am the president slash founder slash senior IT engineer slash a little bit of everything of the above here at FireLogic. And we're going to be running this class tonight with my colleague, a staff member that's been with us for how many years now, Mike?
3 years.
3 years at this point. Mike is in charge of our sales here at the company. And when we had the chance and we were kind of talking with Sarah about, hey, what would be a great topic to run for our next class at the library, and the topic of safety and security had come up, and Mike said, hey, he's on board and he really wanted to be a part of this tonight. So he's joining me. I usually do these solo, but tonight we're going to tag team a little bit, and I think it should be a good one for everybody.
I got brought on 3 years ago by Derrick and handling sales and customer service here. I came from a background of consumer electronics, working for 14 years for one of the big box retailers, and then 6 years on the corporate side with one of the telecoms. So phone and portable device security is something that I'm well versed on from a high level of training from those organizations. So when Derrick talked about online security, these were things that I am living these behaviors on a daily basis. I do almost all of my purchasing, either except for groceries, I do almost all of my purchasing through the web. And I do a lot of advising of my friends and family on best practices with this. But that being said, I still get scammed. I've been doing this for a long time. I talk about having got my eBay account 23 years ago, and still right at the beginning. And I still, like I said, I still get scammed. So this is something that's a very organic process, and it's something you always learn more of as time goes on, what not to do and what to do. And what Derrick thought was really important was kind of start with the broad strokes here. So we're going to go over a lot of that, and we'll be holding off for questions until the end. Also, our email addresses will be on here too. So I do want to urge you, if you've got something more detailed or want some more dedicated time, get back in touch with us after tonight.
Yeah, so really the class, the way we kind of see this unfolding here tonight for what we're going to cover, it's going to be mostly lecture format. We're going to have some Q&A at the end that we'll offer for any questions that anyone has, and we really when we talk with Sarah about how this is going to, in terms of what topics we wanted to cover, we really wanted to just go, a little bit more broad, cover, a lot of different content, give you a little bit of tidbits and best practices for lots of different things, because again, our digital lives are very complex today, and there's a lot of different aspects to it, even compared to just a half decade ago, where, the mobile phone and smartphone situation wasn't as big as it is today, and tablets weren't as big. Now we've got just so many things that make up our digital lives that we wanted to just kind of keep the surface level, biggest things you need to know. And if there's anything further that someone wants us to dive into during Q&A, we're more than glad to do so towards the end. Just a quick thing about who we are. A lot of you may not have ever interacted with us or been to any of our previous classes or know what we're about. We are a local IT services firm, so we do support, we do computer repair. We focus on the small business sector now, but we still do quite a bit with the residential client base that I've been servicing since 2010 when I started this company. Every single week, we've got computers in for repair situations and viruses and upgrades and new computer sales, all kinds of different things. So we're definitely available here at your disposal. We have been a partner with the Parkridge Library and other different libraries, including Niles and Glenview Library and a few others out there. Some of the brands here that we have the logos up on the screen here. There's some of the organizations that use us in some form or fashion for ongoing support or training or consulting. So we've been a staple in the local community for quite some time. We are in our 12th year of operation here. So definitely like that milestone. It's definitely something I didn't think would ever be happening, but time flies. We are based in Des Plaines. We have a branch office in Chicago that is on the brink of opening right now. I've got a team of 11 people here and a combined 70 plus years of IT experience at our disposal. So we have a very experienced and deep staff base available. And again, we've been doing a lot with the local community. I started off just doing repairs for people's computers out of my condo bedroom, gosh, over a decade ago. And today we've got a team of almost a dozen people. So we've definitely come a long way. And again, just some of the brands up on the screen there that many of you frequent and are probably patrons of: D'Agostino's Pizza and Elements Massage. We do all of the IT for the site of St. Paul the Cross, the school, and the church. We've done a few things with Niles Library. We handle the Bose store locally. Des Plaines History Center uses us on a day-to-day basis for all their support. We are part of doing support for the Mr. Floor companies, the official floor of the Chicago Bulls. So definitely, you know, we are ever present and you know, definitely a big part of doing support and ongoing consulting for a lot of the local organizations here in the community. If you weren't aware of one of the services that we offer for free, no charge at the Park Ridge Library, it's something that was on hold as the virus really took hold and really took a ravage, and the library was closed down for some time, but was something that we have started up again. It's a really nice service. It's something we've been doing for almost a decade now, and it's basically just an open help desk. If you have small problems, questions, you know, issues with your computer, you need some assistance with a tablet app, you're looking for some help on buying a new computer, any kind of, you know, little things like that you would want to bring to the table. We have one of our staff members available at the Park Ridge Library, usually on the first Saturday of every month at this point, on a consistent basis like we used to pre-2020. Our next few sessions coming up are February 5th, March 5th, and April 2nd. These are all Saturdays. These should be the first Saturdays of each upcoming month. And unless something changes, as it did this month with the library shutdown, we are planning on being there the first Saturday of every month. So bring your laptop, bring your tablet, bring your smartphone, whatever problems you may be having. We'd be glad to sit down with you, help you out. Again, there's no charge, nothing other than just showing up and signing in, and we'll definitely help you. You know, it's usually on a first come, first serve basis. Some months we get a lot of people, so we got to limit the time that we spend with each person. But some of the months we're a little bit lighter, you know, we tend to throw a little bit more time per person. So it just all depends on how heavy the day is when you come on out. But again, complimentary, free service we provide. We've been doing it a long time, and we've really enjoyed our partnership with the library. So definitely take advantage. Come out and see us, and come get support with anything that you may need.
We've built some lifelong relationships with some of the people that have come out to get help with us. Some of the situations, excuse me, some of the situations weren't solvable within a couple of minutes span. So there were situations where customers would need to come back to us for a much more elaborate discussion. And many of these clients are ongoing patrons of ours. So this is a service we're very conscientious in offering, and we definitely urge you to take advantage of it and recommend it if you've got a family or friend that's locally based and could use some help.
All right. So the topic, the crux of today's discussion really centers around internet safety, internet security. I mean, again, this kind of blends across devices now, because again, internet is on everybody's phone, internet's on everyone's smart, you know, tablet device and laptop computers we carry around. So the internet is so pervasive that, gosh, I took a look back at, you know, we ran this class. I've done this class in a few iterations now for the past decade or so, and I've looked at some of the evolution of the content that we've covered, and, you know, used to be strictly, you know, start of the 2010s, mostly related to everyone using their desktop computer, laptop computer at home or on Wi-Fi. And, you know, what did it take to, you know, secure that and stay safe on that? And then as the mid 2010s came around, the smartphone situation really started to blossom, and tablets. And, you know, here we are today where everyone's got, you know, a mixture of Alexa devices at home, and game consoles are online, and the kids all have smartphones. So again, the internet is really this unified unifying factor that is so central to our lives and everything we're doing today at work, at home, on the go, that again, it's just been interesting to see how that has evolved over the last decade or so. And again, we're trying to make sure that the kind of content and the topics we're covering in this class are keeping pace with that, and keeping pace with that notion that the web and digital and cyber life is so central to our daily lives. So hopefully if you're here, you already understand that, again, your smartphone, your computer, your game consoles, your Alexa speakers, whatever else you may have in home, at the house, at the office, everything really needs to be taken into account in terms of keeping a safe and cyber digital life these days. Because again, if it touches the web, if it gets what they call an IP address, it is susceptible. It needs to be accounted for, and you really need to be thinking about how you're conducting yourself across all these devices, because even though they're becoming pervasive and modern in terms of their functionality, a lot of the core concepts that you need to take to heart in terms of how to keep yourself safe, keep your data private, in light of everything you've been hearing in the news lately with ransomware and a lot of other things. Again, it just kind of hits home at the fact that it's great that we have such an amazing facet in our lives in terms of this ever persistent internet connection across everything, but it opens up a lot of challenges. And that's something that we want to hit on today, and give you a lot of practical tips to keep yourself safe, keep yourself secure, and do the best that you can while enjoying all these facets of modern life. So I like to start off this class with some numbers, kind of a by the numbers, kind of an at a glance, 10,000-foot view, not to scare anyone, but really just give you some insight in terms of what we're dealing with. What does the landscape look like? I know most of you watch the news and are, do tend to keep track of a lot of the things that, there's being talked about. But again, maybe sometimes you don't put it in context in terms of what's really happening. So this is an infographic here that focuses on some of the statistics from 2020, and really what is the most common type of cybercrime that we're seeing as of 2020. Again, the chart really doesn't change that much for this year, I would have to assume, as again, the trend has really been going in this direction for a couple of years now. But as you can see, phishing by far, by large, phishing and vishing and smishing. And for anyone that doesn't know what those terms are, you can forgive yourself. A lot of us IT people like to put crazy names on these things, but phishing, vishing, smishing, phishing is basically attempts to get information or get you to give away credentials or spam you in some way via email. Vishing is the voice form of that over the telephone, and smishing is the text form of that over text messaging. So all of that is really combined in that one category of any kind of attack that's coming in that format over any of those mediums. And again, as you can see, by far, that is the most common type of cybercrime that we're seeing these days. Even lesser, a little bit lesser than that is the non-payment, non-delivery spam techniques that are out there. You've got some extortion, and then down from there, really trickles down to the personal data breach, identity theft, and moving down further from that. So it's really interesting also to see that the amount of money that's been lost from all these different kinds of crimes at 1.64 billion. And I'm sure, again, since this graphic is from 2020, this information's a little bit older, that those are even higher now. So, really what this tells us, this is very similar to what we've been seeing, for the clients that we support and what we're noticing hitting their email inboxes. Again, email really tends to be the most common attack vector these days. I think a lot of people have their guard down when it comes to email and tend to click on things a little too quickly and take a lot of trust into the emails that they get. And I think a lot of people have gotten better on that over the last half decade or so. But again, just based on the raw metrics of how commonly this is still happening and how large of a majority this is in terms of the percentage of the pie of cybercrime still happening, we really haven't learned our lesson yet. And this is still going on to a large degree. And again, some of the things we'll be covering as we go along today are going to be how to mitigate that, how to watch out for that, and how to keep yourself safe from that, since this is such a big part of our lives now. So again, now digging down into phishing, since that is the most common type of attack. As part of that, a lot of the phishing emails that are coming out there these days and that are hitting inboxes for a lot of you, a lot of our clients that we support in the small business sector, we see that a very common item that the criminals want to do. And you got to keep in mind, the reason that this is done, the reason phishing is sent out, and the reason that these attacks continue to occur is because someone's making money from it. The criminals are making money off doing these things, sending out these phishing emails, and really the way they're making money to a large extent over the last 3-4 years or so is ransomware. And this is part of what this slide shows here in terms of how is this ransomware being delivered. As you can see, not surprisingly, phishing emails are the large bulk, more than 50% of how ransomware is being delivered out to the community, to users at large. And ransomware is something I'm going to cover in a little more detail a little bit later on. Again, it's been in the news. We had attacks on the meat supply industry, on some of the pipeline providers. And if you've heard of it and didn't know exactly what was happening, I'm going to explain it in a little bit more detail. And again, how you can protect yourself from that. But again, just hitting home the fact that email is such a large vector that everyone, if there's one thing you take home today from this presentation, it's that you've really got to be diligent. You've really got to be vigilant in terms of how you treat your email activity and how you're handling yourself via email, because this is by and large the way that these criminals are really doing damage and not only stealing data, but making really large sums of money because of a lot of carelessness and a lot of attempts to take advantage of some of our fear and uncertainty and doubt, and they're exploiting that. And again, user education, part of what we're doing today, is I think a big way that we can help mitigate that going forward. So phishing, how does phishing itself look? Again, I've been hitting home on this for the last 5 minutes or so in terms of this being such a problem for us. But what is phishing? And but you've probably seen something like this hit your email account before. If you haven't, good job. You've been able to stay away from the bad guys. But a lot of us are going to see this in some form or fashion. And I want to, again, biggest thing I want to hit home and share with everyone is what are the telltale signs that you've got a phishing message? Because again, even some of our smartest users, some of the executives that we support at the small businesses that we work with, you'd be surprised at how many people fall victim for these kind of attacks and got spoofed, got tricked. And that's really what it comes down to, is that, it's the user education that is really, I think, the biggest item that can help stop and stem this from being an issue. So here's an example. You'll get an email from, looks to be Microsoft, looks legitimate. And you can see some of the things here that we've pointed out in this email that can kind of be a giveaway clue in terms of why this is a phishing message. So for example, you've got a R site, a restricted sign showing on the from field at the top of the email. That's always a giveaway. Special symbols in the name of where it's coming from is usually someone illegitimate. Legitimate firms and businesses like Microsoft will never put a restricted or copyright sign in that field. Going a little further down, you'll see that there is a broken image next to the logo. Again, a legitimate company that is sending a message out will not have broken images or links that are not working in that manner. So that's another telltale sign that you can look out for. Going further down, you'll see that you usually will have, because a lot of these phishing attempts are originating from places like the Middle East, from Eastern Europe, from Russia, a lot of places where English is not the native language. They are going to have a tough time. They're going to get a lot of mistakes and a lot of their grammar wrong in terms of what they put in the email. So again, look out for that. If it doesn't read properly and you notice a lot of spelling or grammar mistakes in the message, raise an eyebrow. There's probably a reason behind that. And again, going down, you get the second paragraph where they put hereby required to validate their email account. the wrong use of the word there. Again, another telltale sign. And going down even further, this was an older example. So I think this was from my 2015 class, and this timestamp was from 2013. Again, if you've got dates that are incorrect and old, again, the moral of the story here is add up the number of clues that you've got in terms of, does this smell right or does it not?
To add on to another point too, when looking for things that are not correct, the dear valued user underneath the logo, in most cases, the service provider that's attempted to reach you will have your name. My family members are frequently hit with phishing attempts. And when they send me those emails, and I usually tell them just do a screen grab so that they don't go potentially compromising my systems. The first tip off for me, beyond all of the details that are shown here, is when it says dear valued user. If it says your name, odds are that's the first tip that it's more likely on the level. If it says something more broad addressed, that's a red flag.
Perfect. Thanks for the value add, Mike. So moving on, wanted to spend a moment talking about online banking. This is something that I do very regularly. I do all my banking online now. I mean, my gosh, I think of when I go to the branch in terms of doing banking, I'm really doing things that are so limited in terms of either coin counting or submitting a paper check. But most of my banking, and like a lot of people, is done online these days. And again, it's a nice service to be able to utilize, but there's a lot of things that we see users doing incorrectly and putting themselves at risk when they're doing online banking. And again, I want to make clear, online banking done correctly and following best practices is very safe. And it's actually a lot safer than doing your banking via manual check and pen and paper. I have people even like my mom that, God bless her soul, she loves sending out paper checks for all of her bills and all that. And I have clients that tell me all the time, oh, I'm not going to give you an ACH payment because gosh, that is, such an insecure way to be doing banking and transacting financial transactions. And the truth of it is online banking and digital banking is usually a lot safer than sending checks through the mail. Think of it this way. You're sending a check out for your bill payment to ComEd. What happens with that? You have your bank account number, your routing number, placed in an envelope that touches multiple hands through the postal system, that is carried manually across multiple days, multiple states, between post offices and mail carriers, and then to company offices where they're taking that. How many hands got a hold of the paper slip that has your bank account and routing number right on it? So, I don't go into this in detail with most clients when they tell me this. I just kind of roll my eyes as, they haven't really thought it through. But when you think about it, you think about how many hands potentially have touched that piece of mail. And again, most snail mail we send, again, if it's not certified or sent via FedEx or UPS, you have so many different parties that could open that and pilfer that mail. So again, the notion that digital banking is unsafe is just not true. I think the misconception that it gets and the bad rap that it gets is from those that don't take the precautions and don't do the things necessary to keep themselves safe. Because if you're doing it in a proper manner and following the tips that I'm going to share here on the screen, digital banking is quite a bit safer than doing it via paper mail. So some of the things that I usually share with the users that we support, comes down to a few main aspects. Number one that we have on our list is you have to make sure you're not using a weak password for your bank apps. If you're using a plain dictionary word or regular words that are combined together, you're asking for trouble. And you'll see why in a little bit. I'm going to go over a password demo to show you how unsafe and insecure some regular easy passwords are. You'll be surprised at how easily criminals can get past those passwords. So again, weak passwords and reuse of passwords across across different services. We're using the same banking password across, different banks or different accounts is usually asking for trouble. And if you're asking, how do I manage all these dozens of passwords? I have a slide for that as well. So don't worry, I've got you covered. Number 2 on our list is make sure that you're using two-factor authentication when offered. Sometimes it's called multi-factor authentication, or MFA or 2FA. In general, this is a feature that in addition to a username and password you enter to get into your account, it asks you also to get a one-time use code, either sent to your text message via phone or given to you via a authentication app like Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator or things like that. That is a much higher level of security, because not only are you needing to provide something that to get into your account, you are providing something that you have access to that's generated on a one-time basis at the time of attempt of login. So again, that level of security is far, far higher than just a standard username and password. And I would say if your bank or financial service doesn't offer that this day and age, you probably need to reconsider banking with a different service, because this really should be a baseline standard for any bank you're using or financial platform in the year 2022. Goes without saying that you should also be doing banking tasks on modern computers. If you do doing your banking at the desktop, make sure it's on a computer. If you're on Windows, running Windows 10 or Windows 11. If you're on a Mac, you should be running the latest version of Mac OS. I cringe when I hear people call me at the office and say, hey, I'm trying to get into my bank website on Windows 7 and I'm having hard times getting in. I have to roll my eyes and have this conversation. But again, security baseline is upheld by making sure we're using modern platforms that have good patching being done, updates that are being done, and platforms that are outdated and not being updated. You're definitely putting yourself at high risk from having user account passwords and usernames pilfered behind your back. Do make sure you're checking on the link of anything you're clicking on from bank emails. A big problem with some of the phishing emails coming out there these days is that they are putting links in there, making you believe you're going to the bank website when you're really not. And a really simple way to check over this is by, if you get an email from the bank that looks suspicious, honestly, I would even raise an eyebrow anytime you get an email from the bank asking you to click on a link and go to its website. Hover over that. If you use your mouse on a computer and you hover over that link, you will be able to see what is the actual link behind that. And again, the front part of that address should always be starting with https:// bankofamerica.com, bmoharris.com. You should see the actual domain of the bank in that address. If you start seeing goofy characters or names that are completely irrelevant to the bank, you need to raise your eyebrows and really say to yourself, is this really from the bank? And if you have any suspicion about going to that link, don't use the link from the email. Go to the website of the bank yourself in your web browser, sign into your account, and go to the page they were asking you to go to manually. I know it's more work, but it's better to play it safe than sorry than clicking on a link that's potentially infected from a phishing email and giving credentials out to a criminal or a third party that should have never had your credentials in the first place. So very simple way to get around that. And again, I mentioned the whole ACH aspect. Use it where possible. It is very safe. Even if you don't believe in ACH, trust me, all of the banks and institutions and investment firms you use, this is how they transact between one another. This has been the standard now for probably about 20, 25 years now. It is safe and secure. It's trusted. So it's been around. It's done well. It's done properly. And again, the weakest link is usually the end users that are not protecting credentials and keeping access to their accounts safe and secure. It's not the actual notion or technology of ACH itself. And again, it comes down to, if it smells fishy, it likely is. Another item that is still around, this is a slide from my 2017 version of this class, and I had to keep it because this still happens. We still get calls from customers asking, hey, I got a call from someone pretending to be Microsoft, pretending to be Google or my bank, and they're telling me that I'm infected. They're telling me some story and I need to give them credentials, or I need to go ahead and confirm and give them a credit card number so they can go ahead and do an emergency transaction. Again, insert whatever X or Y story you want to. In general, these things still happen, and they tend to prey on the senior citizens, unfortunately. The most of my clients that are seniors, this is the crowd that tends to get these kind of calls, because again, they're preying on the fear, they're preying on some of the uncertainty with some of the technology. They're preying on the notion that they're going to make up some kind of a bogus story to try and take you for a ride. So again, if you get calls like this, it's usually best to raise an eyebrow, to step back. Don't give out credentials over the phone. Don't give out credit card numbers over the phone. And if it is a legitimate call from a provider like a Microsoft, like the bank, ask them to give you a number. Ask them, if you can call them back at the number where you can cross-reference that number to make sure it's a published number for that institution. Because again, a criminal is not going to go through with that, not going to allow you to do that, because they know if you dial the legitimate number, you're going to be off the hook, and you're not going to be able to talk with them. So again, spot check yourself and just be wary and mindful of these kind of scams, because again, they're playing on your fear. They're playing on the notion that you're scared, and they want to take advantage of that situation. So passwords are an unfortunate bane of our existence. They are something that we have way too many of. They are something that we have to change way too often. And I get it. Passwords are not ideal. There are moves being made to make a transition away from passwords, and Microsoft's been involved with this, and Google a little bit. So there will be a day where we don't have to use passwords to get into accounts, but that day is probably, a good half decade to a decade off. So for the foreseeable future, they will be with us. And if that's the case, how do we make the best of it? So here are some of the biggest tips and tricks that we give our clients when they're asking, how do we manage this password situation? First and foremost, you have to make sure you're not leaving important passwords on sticky notes by your computer. I get it. For the common passwords, or, computers that are shared, or for accounts that are shared, people love to do this, especially in office settings. I don't know why it's done as often as it's done, but it's something that, I see way too much. And again, you don't want to be leaving passwords on sticky notes by computers. If you have to write it down, make a special password book or something that's kept out of sight somewhere that only you know where it is. But again, passwords out in the open on your screen, it's an invitation for disaster, especially for critical accounts like email accounts or banking accounts. My gosh, you're asking for someone to sit there and just make some quick judgments, and you'd be surprised at how quick and how easily these passwords can be stolen. And this is where criminals and data thieves go. If someone gets into your house or the office and takes a photo of that screen and that password's on there, they're going to be in that account. So just don't do it. It's such an easy thing that can be prevented, and I'm just not sure why so many people still do that. Again, don't use passwords that are purely based on words from the dictionary. My examples on the screen there: my dog Alexis, I love Janice. Anything that can be combined with dictionary words is not good. And the reason for that is because the most simplest forms of password hack attacks used against accounts on the web these days is what's called dictionary attacks. And what does that mean? It's just like it sounds. Criminals have fancy computer systems that basically take all the words of Webster Dictionary, and they can combine them at millions of combinations every half hour, and eventually they will find that password and get into that account using that combination. So again, this has been around for some time, and again, dictionary cracking is the simplest form of how these criminals are doing their attacks. So again, don't fall victim to it. Don't use simple passwords that have these words connected. You have to make sure you're adding in things that are special numbers and letters and characters at the end. My last bullet point on here, makes note of that. The more combinations of these items, the more specific items you can add, a special character, uppercase letters, numbers into your password, the harder it's going to be. And I'm going to show why that's the case in a demo I'm going to give here in just a couple moments. And again, in terms of password length, you want to make sure you're using passwords that are of decent length. I have on here 8 characters. A lot of people would even say that 10, 12 characters is probably the new norm you should be using. But a good number to start with is usually 8 characters. Anything less than that, and you're really asking, for disaster. Because again, the shorter it is, the easier it is for these advanced criminals to go ahead and run really complex combinations of every possible password and get in your account. With length increases complexity. The larger the complexity, the least likelihood there is that someone will be able to get into your account. Okay. So again, here's the demo. I was kind of mentioning this a little earlier. A lot of people, again, I'm lecturing here and telling you all these best practices. You may have heard some of this, but I wanted to show a quick demo here. This is something I've shown off in this class all the time, and it really wows everyone. And again, if you were in person, as I run this demo, I'd hear the oohs and ahs as I go through this and kind of show this on the screen. But this is a tool that anybody can use. I've got the link up here on the screen. And again, this will be in the recording, the class recording as well, that you can get back to it as well if you miss this. But security.org has a how secure is my password? It's actually a password strength calculator, and it allows you to see how good of a password you're choosing to use for whatever the password is, whatever the account is you're trying to protect. And I'm going to bring it up on the screen here momentarily, because I think it's a really neat tool, and it really goes to show that how bad some of these really bad passwords are. And if you're using them, I'm not going to sit here and shame you, because obviously we're virtual. I can't see you, but you probably know who you are out there in the virtual Zoom crowd. So let me bring up here really quickly that website for everyone and show you this. So this is how the website looks here, and you can use this. It's a very simple tool. You go to the home page here, and you can type in here whatever that password is. If you're curious about either a new password you want to use or a password that you consider your master password that you're using across many different services, type it in here on this webpage and go ahead and see how it ranks your password. So I'll start off with a really bad password such as hello. So you won't see it typed in the screen, but I'm gonna speak out loud in terms of what I'm typing. So if I type in hello, you'll see here that the tool tells us this password would be cracked instantly. Any criminal attacker would be able to crack this without any effort. And a big part of that is because that's a simple dictionary word. So again, we went over that prior. We said how dictionary attacks were very easy. If I went ahead and combined a couple dictionary words like I love Alexis, you'll see that a little bit more complex, but it would only take a criminal about 1 day to still crack that password. So not very good at all. If I made that password a little bit more complex, maybe added some numbers to it, like a number 3, added a number 6 to the end of it, you'll see that my complexity is increasing and that password is becoming a lot better. So this would take about 100 years to crack that I love Alexis 456 or whatever I typed in on the screen here, because that complexity increased by a very good degree here. If you're using a strong password, and I'm going to just type something random in here with a lot of special characters, here you'll see that every extra character I'm adding is increasing that complexity, and you'll see how much longer it takes to crack into that. And every single character I'm adding just makes this impractical to get into. So again, if there's any demonstration I can give here today to hit home at the fact of, reconsider your passwords, reconsider not only using simple passwords across multiple sites, but using them in general, and how easy it is for the bad guys to get in. I'm hoping this tool really hits home at that. So I really urge you, go to this website for your own on your computer. You can even do it right now and type in some of those passwords that you're using. You may be shocked at what you thought was a good password actually is not the case. All right, we're going to go back to the presentation here. All right. So say you now have strong passwords you've made for your different services. And if you're a cybersecurity geek like Mike or I are, you have a dedicated unique password for every single service. But now you ask and you say, Derrick, you're crazy. I've got now 40 different passwords I need to take care of and manage. And yes, this used to be a problem. But now there are actually solutions that can help solve that, because now we have things called password managers. And if you've never used one, I really urge you to take a look at some of these services. I'm not here I have no skin in the game for any of these services. I personally use LastPass and I like it. I don't know, Mike, what do you use? What do you like in terms of password manager?
I've been using the IT glue that we've been working with.
Okay.
My passwords through our own system.
Okay, so IT glue is a corporate documentation platform that we have access to, that we use to keep our client documentation in place. That has a password manager. There are a lot of options. I mean, moral of the story here is there's not one offering. There are multiple different options. LastPass is probably the first and biggest name in the password management industry, but they're not the only one. You've got Dashlane, you've got Keeper, 1Password, login, RoboForm, and plenty of other names out there. You can do some research and you can see which one fits for your life. Some of these are completely free. Some of them have paid offerings. I've been using LastPass personally for a half decade. I pay for its premium version because I like some of the family features that it has. But again, there are multiple different options in this crowd. And basically what a password manager does is it allows you to have one master unique password that gets you into an account, well, pretty much like a filing cabinet. And the filing cabinet, the service that we're speaking of, so LastPass or OneLogin, for example, that filing cabinet then keeps track of all the passwords you have for all the different websites. So again, perhaps one day we'll be able to get past this, but for now, this is probably the best way about it, because you can keep track of all those passwords, store them securely, safely in that service, and again, only have to keep track of one master password. So again, in my mind, I only keep track of pretty much my master password, and I don't care how complex or crazy my other passwords are, because I know that LastPass is storing them, and that's really the way it should be. Because again, if you're a sane person and trying to memorize really great passwords for every single website, you may go insane. So we don't want that to happen. And again, this is how to mitigate that. Find a password manager. I don't care what you use, but use some kind of password manager for yourself, because again, you'll be able to then get the best of both worlds. You'll have the convenience of being able to access them really easily, and you'll have the security of having very strong, unique passwords across different services, all stored in one spot. So that's my spiel on password managers. All right, we're going to move on to some social media items, and I'm going to turn it over to Mike.
Social media gut check. Really, this is a really big topic, because the Pew Research Center said last year that 72% of Americans have at least one social media type. So we are all on them. It's something that is so ubiquitous, and you see what people share, sometimes TMI, but in a lot of cases, these situations have a lot of risk factors to them. I put in bold on here because I think it's the most important thing here, really the top of the heap when it comes to ways to protect yourself. MFA. That's the two-factor or the multi-factor authentication that Derrick was talking about on a couple of the previous slides. And it's going to be a recurring theme here. When I say I'd rather lose my wallet than lose access to my social media, that's not an understatement or hyperbole. If you lose your wallet, you've got the Secretary of State's office, your credit card companies, maybe your health insurance card, your venture card. You lost a couple of things with a small assignable dollar value, and perhaps maybe a couple of hours of imposition on your normal schedule. However, if you lose access to your social media, the verification methods in order to regain access are so problematic and so frustrating, because in almost all cases, you don't have a human being to reach back to. So as an example, if you get banned from Facebook for having used the word that was on their algorithm, getting back into that account is not something that's easy to do, because there's no person to talk to. So trying to find some ways in order to get back in is just so problematic. Some of the things to do to not put yourself at risk: I will use the phrase keeping a high security fence, keeping a high perimeter, is don't add your phone number and only friend people you know. And the reasons behind this, and this is a little bit of a trigger warning here, I don't want to overly instill fear, but if you're putting in a phone number, you're opening yourself up to attacks, stalking, harassment, even fraud. Someone can learn enough to attempt to hijack your account, which we're going to come back to in a minute, just what the threats are with that. They'll compromise your personal security to a degree that's going to cause hours of difficulty. Talk about a life disruption. Having someone grabbing your social media is just an absolutely huge impact. So if your phone number is not on there, this means that you're going to have a lower risk. Your security fence will be a little bit higher. Don't post when you're going on vacation. So as an example, you're in Tulum and you want to take pictures of the fabulous ruins on the cliffs. Don't say, I'm here now. Post them after the vacation is over. If you have friend requested somebody you don't know or accepted a friend request from someone you don't know, there's an imminent danger that someone could come to your house and break in. This has been done. We have had police reports that prove this is an imminent concern. If it's a situation where you want to be very free and flowing with who you accept as friend requests, you do have the option, and this is both going to touch in with Instagram and with Twitter, as well as WhatsApp and the rest of the gamut of the social media forms. Make your account be private, because this is going to reduce your risk intensely. You're talking about, again, putting up a fence around your information that's going to really help you out a lot. Last point on this slide before we move on to the next one is, Derrick mentioned about 2 slides ago, if it smells fishy, it likely is. If it's too good to be true, if it looks it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Don't open links that seem fake. Not only are you going to potentially be putting in bank account information or put in personal email address, potentially even using a password on an organization that gets hacked, that could bite you back later on, because that password could be one you've used multiple times. So don't click on links that do seem spurious or questionable. Now, one of the factors with that too is I talked about accounts, working with your electronic accounts. So the next couple of components we're going to talk about here are going to be internet shopping do's and don'ts. Again, I go back and emphasize with great importance 2-factor or multi-factor authentication. A lot of people don't like this from a standpoint of it's a bit of a nuisance to have your phone nearby when you're logging into your accounts. And then you've got to get the number, the 6 to 8 digit character, and put it in your computer. However, the amount of effort that's going into that is going to be so much less than the amount of effort that's going to go into attempting to recover an account, or the amount of danger that could happen with your accounts being compromised. Compromising an account in internet shopping really is relevant to Craigslist, because when I talk about security fences and perimeters, there is so little oversight with Craigslist that this is the wild, wild west. This is one of the places where scammers and attempts at trying to compromise your credentials are widespread. It's the least safe selling platform on the internet. The amount of experiences we have with clients with getting taken for a ride or being scammed is a huge list, the longest list of any of the service providers up here. eBay is next after Craigslist, because eBay is the most secure. After 23 years of using an eBay account, one of the things that's really great about them, as I talked about in the last slide, being able to reach a human being. One of the things that's great about eBay, and going to be coming into with a couple rest of the service providers here, is that they use PayPal, and both of those services have human being customer service. You do have methods to work with somebody to recover your accounts, or work in a situation in which you feel like you're being scammed. Some of the scams that Derrick talked about a half dozen slides back were non-delivery. So that's going to be something that's going to be an issue if something doesn't come and it wasn't shipped. You do have the ability with these to work also with law enforcement organizations. You can get information from these selling platforms to work with police departments in the communities where your seller was based, or if it's somebody who was local, you do have those options, which is incredibly valuable. eBay also gives you an option for local pickup. Local pickup is a big benefit because if you're in a safe place, a lot of police departments have areas marked off, cordoned off, where you can do e-buying meetups. Not to mention the parking lots in Walgreens have to be some of the scariest looking places from an outsider's perspective because of the amount of times people are just walking up to each other and saying, "Hey, are you Bill? Hey, are you Mike?" And it's just something that raises a lot of fear for people. But those live situations where you can talk with somebody, you can open the box immediately. You're not going to be buying a Microsoft Xbox Series S and find out that there's bricks in it because when it gets shipped, because you can open that box immediately. That oversight factor, again, with InPerson, just like with eBay, talking about having a person that you can reach is invaluable. Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp have two major distinctive elements too. Negotiability. The price is negotiable with a lot of these items. And if you set up in-person meetings, not only do you get a better rating, but you also are going to have a situation where if you're dealing with cash, you're far less likely to have to deal with a lot of the threats, which kind of dovetails into the single most important thing I would say on this page is always pay through the app. Do not take an invitation from a Craigslist user, an eBay user, OfferUp, or Facebook Marketplace to pay off of their platform. You are no longer eligible for their buyer protections. The platform that you're using, which we're going to go over a whole bunch of them in the next slide, Zelle, Venmo, PayPal, they have no buyer protection when it's not bought through their system because they have no proof that this person was a real person or that they weren't a scammer. So pay through the app. It is a nuisance to go through them, yes, but is it a positive? It's going to definitely pay you back. Bringing up the next slide, this is going to talk a little bit more on why. With Zelle, you've got an in-person verification of getting an email. You've got two vectors. You'll have an email and a phone number. Same with Venmo. So you'll have these where if you're doing some peer-to-peer, if you're sharing money with family members or friends, you've got a trust factor with that. And also you've got the protection from those providers. They are very good. However, if given a choice between any of the three on this page or some of the others that are out in the market like Cash App or Western Union, my first choice is PayPal. PayPal has the easiest system for you to be able to deny whether something was an accurate transaction, and they will work with you on a better level than any of the others will. Make sure that you get recouping of that lost money. So these are huge topics as far as potentially affect how much you can be, how low those fences are and how exposed you can be. One of the things Derrick talked about in the past was ransomware, which is going to bring us on to the next tile.
All right, ransomware. So something I mentioned earlier, something that is being delivered via that phishing email vector and form of delivery that I mentioned in my first slides as we were talking. I just wanted to give everyone an idea in terms of how prevalent ransomware as one of the leading forms of destructive malware has become in the last few years. And again, this slide hasn't been updated after 2017, but you can see, and it's only gotten worse, you can see how exponentially great of a threat ransomware has become. These are all the different major strains of ransomware that started to come out. The tracking started just about late 2010 with Zorist, and you can see now there are just hundreds of different names and strains out there. And it's definitely something to be aware of. It's definitely something that causes the biggest issues, especially in the corporate landscape and enterprise landscape. And a lot of the clients that we help secure and we work with, this is probably our biggest threat that we're trying to protect against these days. And but it not only affects on the SMB side or the corporate side, but it's also something that hits residential users as well. And that's why I wanted to bring it up, in that it's something that can hit anyone with a computer, anyone with data on any kind of device, a Mac system, a Windows system. This can happen to you. So this is something you definitely need to be aware of. And hopefully this lays to light just how large of a problem this has become. And it's become a problem just because of the fact that, there's a lot of organizations and people that are not doing a lot of the simple things you can to protect against this, and I'll go over those things. But there's a lot of sloppiness out there in terms of not doing backups and not having security software and patching routines. And these are all day-to-day average things that we're always doing at our client sites. And it just boggles my mind how many people get hit by this because they didn't have a backup, or they didn't check their backup, or they chose not to renew their security software. And these are all simple things that really doesn't require any kind of engineering mind to do in terms of prevention. But the criminals are still making loads of money and launching ransomware because they're getting rich, and they're getting rich off of a lot of sloppiness on the part of end users and organizations. So ransomware, again, a nebulous topic unless you know what exactly it's meant to do and how it works. So in 5 simple steps, what is this ransomware that I'm talking about? So ransomware is if you know what a virus is, right? Virus is the simplest and oldest form of malware that used to infect computers, and now ransomware is the most complex form of that and most modern form of that. And basically what it is it's delivered via spam or an infected link, but somehow you click on it. So you click on this set item, this particular piece of malware goes ahead and downloads itself, loads itself like a digital form of COVID. I don't know, maybe too soon. Digital COVID loads itself on your computer. It goes ahead and it encrypts files on you. And the reason it does this is because it wants to go ahead and launch a ransom. The criminals want to force you to pay a sum of money to get your files back. That's really what this comes down to. So if you see step 5, you want to pay a ransom to get your data. The recommendation for most professionals like myself and our company is you don't pay the ransom, because in our position, you are in a position of strength and leverage in that you have backups, you have security software. And even if someone like a criminal gets on your machine with ransomware and locks your files, that's fine because you have a proper backup of your files. If you don't, that's where ransomware wins, and that's where it becomes not just a nuisance, that's where it becomes for a lot of places, a life or death situation. That's where in the news, you've heard of a lot of organizations that have paid ransoms because they didn't have good backups, because they didn't test those backups, and the criminals had the upper hand. So if you look at it, this is just a matter of an equation where, who has the upper hand? If you have the upper hand and you have good security software and you're doing backups and they are offsite backups, and you're not just keeping like on a floppy drive or a thumb drive. Floppy drive is a little dated, Mike. I should watch my terms here. But a flash drive, if you're actually using a proper, like a cloud backup service, the Carbonites of the world and some of the other providers out there, if you have something like that and you can get your files back, ransomware, again, like I said at the bottom of this slide, just becomes a nuisance. So again, it really comes down to making sure you've got good backups of your data. And again, this is something that a lot of people said, I'll get to it later, it doesn't matter. I'll just worry about backups another day. Ransomware is something that really should make you think twice about, ensuring you've got backups and making sure that those backups are working properly. So how do you stay safe? What are the biggest things you can do to not get in the line of sight of ransomware? Biggest things that we can recommend from our end, making sure that email attachments, again, this is probably the most common place. If there's one vector that is really hitting people hard, it is the email attachments. So many people trust email attachments. A lot of things we've seen from some of the clients that have been hit, there's fake UPS labels, fake invoices. Again, they're playing on you, letting your guard down. They're playing on you, willingly clicking on something faster than you should, and that's how they get these ransomware items onto your machine. So always question, who's sending this? Why are they sending it? Was I expecting this file? Do I have security software on my computer that can scan this file before it opens? If you can't answer those questions properly, you need to step back and ask yourself whether you should be opening that file in the first place. So always, go through that mental checklist for yourself of, does it look legitimate? Is it from a party I trust? Was I expecting something from them? can my software scan that file before it opens? Because again, it just takes one file, especially for offices. If you're in an office, this can spread to servers, this can spread to external hard drives and network attached storage devices. It spreads very quickly and very easily. So, you know, really the lowest common denominator is the end user, and that is really everyone here watching. You want to make sure you're using strong anti-malware software. Our usual recommendation is from a company called Sophos, a product called Intercept X, but also ESET is something we've pushed a lot over the years. If you don't like those, that's fine. You need to be using something on your machine, and the built-in software that comes with Mac or Windows, I will tell you, as someone who's been in IT now for over 16 years professionally at this point, you don't rely on the stuff that just comes from the operating system. It's not good enough. It doesn't do a good enough job. It does not meet compliance. In terms of if you're a small business and you need to meet compliance like HIPAA or PCI, you will not meet compliance using those kind of apps. And that's for a reason. It's because it does not meet the threshold of being good enough to be able to stop a lot of these advanced attacks these days. Using a secure modern web browser. I know that Chrome is actually a lot more popular these days, and Firefox and Edge even than they used to be. Safari, yeah, that's pretty good too on the Apple side. But again, if you're using still like Internet Explorer on an old Windows computer, my gosh, you are putting yourself at such a high risk from the get-go. I don't even want to harp on that much further, but hopefully most of you are using a modern web browser that has auto update capability built right into it. Number 4 is another important one. A lot of people get bit by going onto places on the web they shouldn't be going, and they know they shouldn't be there. You know, shady free websites where you get promised free movies, free games, free applications, the pornography, the free music, all these places where you're getting something for nothing tends to come at a cost, and that cost is the potential to have items you're downloading infected with ransomware, or the links that are on these websites being infected with ransomware or malware. So stay away from them. Again, you're putting yourself at harm's risk. It's like knowingly going into a bad neighborhood and just hoping for the best. You know better, you shouldn't be there, and that exists for the internet very much so these days. And number 5, you should be using the latest operating system from the manufacturers and make sure it's updated. This goes for all devices, honestly. This slide was intended for computers back when I started doing this class, but now this goes for phones, making sure your Android, your iOS, your iPhone is updated, your Windows 10, that you're on Windows 10, not using like a Windows 8 or a Windows 7 or one of these other old operating systems. If you're using that and doing anything of importance on that computer online, you are asking for trouble. The modern operating systems have very aggressive update routines and patch routines that are meant to fix all these security holes and things like 0 days. If you heard of in the news, a 0-day attack means that the attack is in the wild and there's been no time for places to be able to patch them yet. So it is a 0 day for that very reason. Again, you want to put up as high of a fence as you can from the bad guys, and a part of that is making sure you're on a modern operating system that is getting updated. So public misconception that's out there that I hear so much, and I'm only going to take one slide on this, and a lot of our clients always this, again, I'm not sure how this got promulgated in the media, in the public sphere, but Macs don't get viruses. And hopefully some numbers here on the screen will prove that notion wrong once and for all. This is actually from the organization called A/B Test. They are an organization that goes ahead and pits all the major security platforms against each other. And they have a lot of metrics to be able to see how well these programs are working, and they rate these programs and things of that nature. But they also have insight in terms of how the operating systems are getting hit. And as you can see here, the landscape for Mac malware back in 2015, 2016, 2017 already was starting to become a thing. But if you look at 2020, it is quite a thing. And it is something that, again, this graph was not fully complete for 2021, so it was not updated. I couldn't find a newer graph that was put out for this, but it is becoming, as you can see, the mountain is continuing to climb, and Macs are continuing to get hit. And why do they get hit? For the simple reason, not because Macs necessarily are safer or not as safe as Windows computers. It's because they're more popular. Again, half decade to a decade ago, Mac was a niche item. There was something that only a subset of the community was using. And again, criminals want to do whatever is the best bang for the buck. And the best bang for the buck always was Windows computers. And that's just not the case anymore. As Mac has become more prevalent, they are a vulnerable part of the community, a sizable part of the computing device community. And as you can see, the cyber criminals have gotten a lot more interested in it. So please don't believe in this conception that Macs don't get viruses, because it clearly isn't true. The numbers don't back it up, and the numbers continue to climb every single year. So hopefully, if you were one of these people that were repeating this misnomer, hopefully I can set you straight a little bit today. Not saying don't use Mac. I'm saying you need to be using security software on your Mac. That's all I'm saying. I don't care what you use. We have Mac users we support, Windows users, Linux users. It doesn't matter. You can use what you want to use, but the moral of the story is you should be using proper security software and not just relying on the built-in tools within the operating system. A quick word I wanted to share regarding computer login passwords. Something that a lot of people, the misconception that is still out there is that, hey, my computer has a password, and if it gets stolen, I don't care. I have a password. No one could get in my computer because I have a password on it. And lo and behold, that's not true. That no one can get into it. You'd be surprised at how easy it is to be able to, for an average thief, to be able to pull out the drive. I put a photo on here of someone taking a hard drive out of computer. Some computers you can't do this on. Some of them have the actual storage devices soldered onto the motherboard. So this is not true for all computers, but most computers still have drives you can remove. And if you can remove that drive and it's not what is mentioned on here, not encrypted, a drive that's not encrypted can easily be connected to any other computer. And with a simple set of tools that are very cheap these days, say $20, $30, a criminal can take that drive, pilfer all your photos, your tax return documents, whatever's on that computer, see everything. And I know this because our technicians and myself, when we have computers come in that aren't encrypted, we're able to do this on client machines for the sake of data recovery and things of that nature. So trust me, this is a thing. A password alone on your computer is not good enough. You have to make sure that your device is what's called encrypted. And it goes by different names on different platforms. If you're on a modern Windows device, that's called a function called BitLocker. It's completely free on every version of Windows 10 and 11. Windows or Mac OS has a tool called FileVault that you can turn on. And basically what that does is it forces the drive to be enclosed in basically an encapsulated padlock. And unless you have the encryption code for that padlock, you cannot see anything that's on that device, no matter what computer you connect it to. So it's very strong. It works very well. The downside is if you lose that encryption code or the password for that computer after it's been encrypted, you may not be able to get that data. You probably won't be able to, I guarantee that. So you have to make sure you don't lose that password after that point. But again, the security you get from having an encrypted machine is well worth it, because again, a lot of people keep time keep all kinds of different things, your photos, your treasured tax returns, your financial info, lists of passwords, lists of all kinds of sensitive info. And again, if you want to make sure that if your laptop is lost or someone steals your computer and they can't get at that data without your password, you have to make sure it's encrypted. And the nice part about smartphones and tablets, most of them by default these days are encrypting as part of the setup process. I think that's the case on Android now and iOS usually, Mike, is that true?
The only concern to have is if you're storing anything on a micro SD card, that someone can take that data that's not encrypted. But generally speaking, once the phone can't be logged back into from the outside, it's extraordinarily difficult to get data off the internal storage.
All right, a quick note about giving your old computer away. I know we're just after the holidays, so this doesn't happen as much, but I know during the holiday season, we get asked all the time of, hey, old computer in the office, I want to give this to my daughter, or my old laptop, I want to give it to my son, or I want to give it to another family member, or donate it. Anytime you have a computer, laptop, or desktop exchanging hands, or even smartphone device, you need to make sure that it's going through what's called a proper a government grade wipe process. And this is something you can do on your own. This is not something you have to have a professional firm like us do, even though we can do it. And we do it for clients all the time because we have the tools handy here in the office to be able to do so. You can do this on your own. There's all kinds of different tools that help you do this. You can download things like DBAN, which is Dark's Boot and Nuke. Nothing to do with me. My name is Derrick. This is Dark that makes it, but no relation to me. Just a heads up. There's a program called Active Kill Disk. There's all kinds of different programs out there. But just again, the concept I want to hit home on is if you are passing a device with any kind of drive in it that has ever touched or stored data that is sensitive to you, that is of importance to you, you need to make sure that device is going through a proper wipe. Because when you go through and just do a reinstall of Mac OS or a reinstall of Windows 10 or Windows 11, a format that you do as part of the setup process doesn't do anything other than just tell the drive itself to get rid of the treasure map to all the treasure that's on the drive. So as you can imagine, there are people that can take that drive, even though the treasure map to get at it easily is gone. There are tools to be able to find that data and get at that treasure if it hasn't been properly wiped. So to make sure that no one can get that data or that treasure, a proper wipe, what we consider our gold standard is called a DoD grade wipe, Department of Defense. It's usually a 7-pass wipe, and that makes sure that that drive has had 7 times over blank data stored on it and wiped over it. And everything's been wiped away so that even if you give that computer up, nobody can ever find that treasure that was sitting on there. So very important, especially if you're giving this machine to goodwill, maybe not as much as family, but again, I think regardless, I would always consider the same standard of if you're giving it away to someone other than yourself, that device should be wiped and clean installed with a fresh copy of Windows or Mac OS after a proper wipe. And if you're not doing that, again, you're putting yourself at a risk, because if the criminal with the right expertise gets at it, they will have a field day with everything they find on your old machine. All right, kind of going to zoom through here for the last couple slides here as we start wrapping up the presentation. I want to be respectful of everyone's time, so we're going to be entering the home stretch here fairly shortly. Wanted to say a few things about routers for the home in terms of the home internet, I guess, as a whole. This is not just about routers, but home internet and how you should be treating that to keep your home network safe. Because again, your network or your home router, whatever you use as your device to get online at home, that is your gateway to everything that's in the home. Every computer, every smartphone, every internet connected device that you have, your game consoles, everything that touches that is all controlled by the brains of that network, and that is your router. You know, sometimes people say, "Oh, Derrick, you know, you're too paranoid about routers. It doesn't matter what I'm using." It actually does, because there's actually cyber criminals out there that have done lots of damage and actually used hijacked routers, as this headline here on the slide here has. This was from a half decade ago, but there's a lot more examples that have come out since then. In that a criminal group was able to use hacked routers to take down the gaming networks, the big multinational gaming networks of Xbox Live and PlayStation Network, just by hijacked routers. Routers people had in their home that just weren't being updated or were very old. So this is something that, again, if this was a problem a half decade ago, this is even more of an issue now. So, you know, a few of the things that we tell everyone in terms of best practices for keeping your home network safe. The first thing is we recommend don't be relying on your ISP rented router / modem combo as your main gateway device. I know Comcast and Xfinity or WOW or AT&T give you the little device, the black box that they say use the Wi-Fi off of it. As much as they tell you to do it, I say don't do it. Don't use that as your main device. You don't do it at home, and it's even worse to do it at the office, because you're even putting yourself, your office, at a higher risk for that. So don't do it. And the reason is because the security levels and the update levels that the internet providers uphold on these devices is very, very low. The barrier is very low. low. Again, they have to provide something that's very universal. And when you make something so universal that has to go in so many homes, you are lowering the bar and lowering the threshold in terms of security that you're offering. So it's not a good idea to be relying on these. You want to have something that you control, that you install behind that device to go ahead and play brains, quote unquote, of your network. Once you do have a proper router, you want to make sure that router has an auto update capability. Your router is only as good as the patching that's being done on it. Just like your Windows or Mac device needs updates, your router as an internet device also needs updates. And a lot of people don't think about this, and I get it, right? It's something that you set and forget and you don't think about it. Maybe a decade ago, that was fine. But again, the criminals are taking advantage of these devices, and they love these old routers and cheap routers that people put online and have sitting in their home, and this is how they're gaining access into home networks. So you want something that's being updated regularly, patched, and most major reputable providers. I put a few of the logos in the bottom there. You know, the Eros, the Google Wi-Fi's. The one we like to recommend is Meraki. That's the one we use on a lot of the business and small business and commercial sites that we support, but they also make a home line that you can install called Meraki Go. Again, very good devices that you can install, and any of these are going to be leagues better than the Comcast or AT&T boxes that you're given at no charge from the providers. And the third thing is you should be using a functionality that's called the guest Wi-Fi functionality. And this is something you don't get on most of these internet provider provided modem router combos. A actual router you buy in the store will have a guest Wi-Fi capability if it's worth its weight. And that allows you to have a segregated guest network for visitors. And the reason you want that is because if you have people coming in with devices that aren't upholding security levels like you may be enforcing in the home, and they have malware, if you're sharing the same network with these people, what do you think happens? They can spread. Just like COVID, these items can spread their malware to other machines. You don't want that happening. A guest Wi-Fi network that's segregated in your home, make sure that guests can still get online, but they cannot touch any of your internal devices. So again, very, very simple set of advice that anybody with a basic home network these days should be doing. Wanted to take a quick word on VPN. You see the commercials about VPN out there. There's so much hype around this, and it's kind of surprising. VPN is something that was relegated to MySpace in the commercial and enterprise space for decades already. And then you had all these providers taking this topic up and offering all these services. And I think it's good for them to offer it. I think there are use cases for it, but it's not for everyone. And you'd be shocked. I get so many calls, and we get a lot of calls here, and Mike has to talk to these people, and they ask, oh my gosh, do I need VPN? Do I need VPN? And there's a few cases where VPN is necessary. And these really are the three big use cases that I can think of. Outside of this, there really is not much need for these VPN services. The first is, again, from the legacy item from my neck of the woods, the business space, is if you're a worker connecting back to your corporate office to get access to internal resources, yes, VPN is useful and necessary for things like that. Number two, if you're on untrusted public Wi-Fi, and you do a lot of that this day and age, it's not as much of an issue for my last point I'm going to bring up as it used to be. But again, if you're doing most of your internet usage on public Wi-Fi, it's probably good to be on some kind of VPN service. And the third one is if you're traveling and you want to access your Netflix and get your USA TV shows while you're in Spain. If you don't have a VPN, you're going to be getting Spanish, or if you're in England, you're going to be getting England's Netflix feed. So you're going to have you're not going to have access to all the things you're used to. This is also another common reason why VPN services like this are beneficial. But outside of these three use cases, really don't be putting yourself in a tizzy about VPN. It's not that important. And as my last point on here puts, already as of 2020, this is actually from Fortinet. Fortinet's a big security player in my space, provides for routers and firewalls for offices. As of their stats, 85% of all web traffic as of 2020 was already encrypted, and this number is only going up. So again, most internet traffic that you're doing on your computer and your email and Google searches you're doing, they are encrypted. So no one's able to sniff this out like they were a decade ago. ago, 12 years ago, where most things were unencrypted and people could sniff this out if they were criminals on public Wi-Fi. It just doesn't happen as much anymore. So again, it's less of a reason to worry about this. So again, unless you fit in one of the 3 use cases on here, I really wouldn't be going crazy about using a VPN.
Myth, mobile phones and tablets aren't vulnerable. Excuse me. Derrick just talked about when you have family members coming over and bringing their devices, be it the holidays or in a post-pandemic era, when somebody's bringing a device over and it's got software that's made to replicate on other devices, be it a laptop or in this case, phones and tablets, yes, they are vulnerable. Is one platform more secure than the other? I think is an extremely important question a lot of people are going to ask. As in most of the ways we're talking about today, it depends. Some of the differences between the two really come down to the ecosystem. The ecosystem with Apple is closed. You can only get programs through them. However, sometimes downloading different types of media onto your phone from any of the apps that you're using can put some compromised software on your iPhone. So it is a good idea to have antivirus on it. We mentioned earlier, we mentioned earlier that there's a couple of service providers that do anti-malware suites that we really have confidence in. So if that's something that you're doing a lot of business or a lot of traffic with your online banking through your phone, please see us about what we can do to set you up with something that's going to protect your phone and put that high fence, that security perimeter that we really want to have you doing on this. Now with Android, actually, because there's such a more widespread field of where to get apps from, and you can download apps from attachments or from websites on your browser, those are great security risks. If you can avoid that, I would urge you strongly to do that, unless you're a person that is technologically savvy and understanding sandboxing apps or understanding anything as far as knowing where trusted sites are. Now, Android does have, Google does have the system where they are scanning software for malware, so the risk is continually on a decreasing angle, but it is still an eminent concern. And again, if you are doing sensitive work on your phone, as most of us are, as Derrick mentioned, he does all of his online banking, as do I. I do most of my purchasing for any of the things I'm buying online through my phone. Make sure that you've got protective software on it. Now, if you're giving a phone away too, go through the effort of making sure it's erased. Always wipe it. Don't give it to a family member without it wiped, much less selling it or when you first buy it. If you buy a phone secondhand, and I am the biggest proponent of recycling old technology, because you can get something for a little less expensive and it's going to be able to work just as good as buying brand new. But always, when you first get it, wipe it. And always keep your operating system updated. One of the reasons to keep your operating system updated is to make sure that all of your security is as high of a level as you possibly can. So email, talking about doing a lot of business and a lot of banking on your phone. We don't like, and the IT world does not like, your SBC Yahoo email, your RCN, especially not your Comcast.net, your AOL accounts for those legacy users that are still using their floppy disks for storing things. WoW and Yahoo, because that security fence is so low. Trying to get multi-factor authentication with them is problematic. You do get massive amounts of spam because the phishing and the spam filters on these service providers is so substandard. I know family members that have 5-digit spam backed up amounts of spam on their email. Those security protocols are not good. And one of the greatest possible reasons to skip these service providers are you lose them when you stop working with them. If you leave Comcast to go to RCN, as personally I did in 2020 during the pandemic to try another provider that was more budget minded, I would have lost any of that Comcast email access had I been using it. We are very confident in Gmail because Gmail has multi-factor, and they actually have a roadmap for making that a requirement for all users in the next, I believe, year. Outlook has the best backup options possible. We work with service providers that will do time-specified backups of your Outlook email so that if something's mistakenly deleted, or if you get malware that impedes your system or compromises your security, we can reset back to one of those backups.
Yeah, so definitely, if there's one thing to take away, if you're still using one of those legacy email providers, it's probably a good idea to consider transitioning away from them. You wouldn't believe how many people call us and change providers, moved homes, went from Comcast to AT&T or AT&T to Comcast or to WOW or back to another, and we're forced to give up that email or to pay a exorbitant fee to keep that address active. In general, it's just not worth going through that. Go with a provider that's agnostic to the internet line coming into your home. And again, Gmail from Google or Outlook.com from Microsoft, both totally free. They have paid upgrade options if you want the fancy features, but both of them totally free. They have very good security. They are FireLogic approved email services. So. And just really quickly, going to spend just a couple moments here. I know this is meant for the average end user, for the home user, but I know we've got a lot of people in the small business realm that are in the crowd watching, as usually these presentations, do, as I've seen in the past. So I wanted to just take a moment and say a couple things about the small business side of things, because again, one of the biggest misconceptions that I hear, oh my God, I've started FireLogic in 2010, and if there's one thing I've commonly heard from small business owners is they have always told me, I don't need to worry because I'm just too small. And my gosh, again, this is another shake your head moment because all of the statistics and metrics that are out there completely go against that grain. And as you can see here up on this slide, a majority, 3/4 almost of all cyber attacks are hitting companies of less than 100 employees. And again, you have to flip the mindset. They are hitting these organizations, not because it's more valuable to hit them because they're smaller. Obviously, they'd rather go over after the Fortune 500, but keep in mind, the Fortune 500 has much higher barriers, much higher security fences to get past. And the little guys are all with this mindset of I'm too small and I'm not going to worry about it. Well, lo and behold, you are now the target that all the criminals are looking at because you're easy picking. You are easy fruit to pull off the tree. So definitely something that, I want to make sure that if you are someone, either a small business owner or involved in a small business, and this is the mindset that's been in your organization, you need to change this because the criminals are definitely going after this part of the sector. Few small, simple things that you can do. If there's anything you can take away from the small business side, a lot of things that we're going to pull from in terms of the same kind of concepts that we have for the residential side. You want to make sure you're using a business grade firewall or router to secure your network. If you're using a Comcast modem, my gosh, you are putting yourself at high risk, and you probably are not going to meet compliance if you have things like HIPAA, if you're healthcare, PCI, if you're hospitality or restaurant, or you take payments at your office, you will fail on these compliance baselines. Don't be letting visitors onto your internal private Wi-Fi. You want to make sure, just like in the home, that you have a proper guest Wi-Fi, because again, if you want to make sure your data is not being infected with malware or critical servers are not getting hit, people and guests that have devices that aren't trusted need to be segregated and fenced off in their own area. And you do that with proper guest Wi-Fi. You want to make sure you're using proper business grade anti-malware software. That should be a no-brainer after everything I've talked about in the first part of the presentation. You want to make sure that your devices are getting updated regularly. If this is something that's hard for you to do, organizations like ours are able to, we have fancy software that can basically run your systems and make sure that patches and updates are getting applied in a consistent manner, and you can see reports on that, and we can manage those schedules. So again, if you have a lot of devices and can't manage those updates manually, there are ways to go ahead and mitigate that risk and automate that. You want to make sure that you're not giving out administrative credentials to just anybody in the office. My gosh, there's so many small businesses we walk into supporting, come on as new clients, and we find out that everybody's got the master server administrative password and they have it typed on a little Post-it note at their computer, or similar things of that nature, where again, you always want to be thinking in a business environment of a notion of least access, those getting privilege to systems only in the levels, in the scope of job that they're doing and in the means that they need it. Anything more than that, and you are, risking potential for criminals to get access into the systems, but also those credentials to get stolen and leaked out to places they shouldn't be. And also make sure that, again, going back to the whole concept of backup, if ransomware is a big deal for a residential user, it is an even bigger deal if your office server gets hit with ransomware or other production systems that you have. If all your files are going to be locked and that server becomes inoperational, you could become a statistic, just like the meat packers that had that this past spring, the oil pipelines that had some of that activity hit them. So again, if you don't want to be on the news and be part of that, the way to do that, the way to mitigate that ransomware, the best way, other than security software, is making sure that you've got good backups. Because again, if they can't hold you hostage, they can't do anything in terms of shutting you down and forcing you to pay that sum of money to get you back in operational. All right, boy, that was a whirlwind of a class. I wanted to open it up to a Q&A here in just a second. But after all of our classes, we do a raffle. I like kind of giving something away, and it's a lot cooler in person because we got a fishbowl that we use and people put their name in there and we do a drawing and you got the oohs and ahs, and obviously over Zoom, we've got none of that. So we will mentally recreate that ourselves over here. We're not going to do the drawing here, but the way we're going to do the entry, since we can't do a fishbowl, is if you do want to be part of the drawing for the raffle, you can simply send a quick email, doesn't matter what account it's from, to our email address of raffle@firelogic.net, and just put in the subject line, count me in. That's all you need to do. Nothing in the body of the email, nothing else, just put count me in. Mike's going to go through that. We will go ahead and take a drawing from that using our fancy digital software tomorrow morning, and we will pick 3 winners. First winner is going to be getting this fancy Netgear router. It is about a $230 router, I believe. It's a very nice router. All the modern capabilities that we talked about during class. It's a Nighthawk X6S, so a very fancy router. It's new in box. Still got the wrap on that, as you can see. So it hasn't been opened. So you'll win as a first person will win that, along with a 25% off gift card for any future service from us. And we'll also choose 2 runners up for 20% off service discount cards and some swag bags with some goodies and stuff that we've got laying around. We haven't done a lot of in-person events, so we got a lot of stuff and goodies collecting in our back closet. So we'll be giving some of that away. And again, if you win, we'll be shipping this to you. We'll cover shipping charts. You don't have to worry about that. You get it to your home. And yeah, so we'll give away some goodies as part of that. So feel free to send in your entry if you want to be included in that. And you can do that anytime tonight up until tomorrow morning about